Hey everyone! I want to talk about support and I want to talk also about resistance. What they are, why to use them, how they help. I'm going to do a couple different videos. First one is going to be support and resistance intraday for day trading or swing trading. And then we'll get to investing. They're the same, but different. For day trading and swing trading, we're going to be using Bollinger Bands for our support and resistance. It's technically called dynamic support and resistance. Dynamic because they're always moving. On a 6-month chart, it's just going to be a pretty straight line. Intraday, though, it's going to be squirrely as fuck. Like this. The purple line is support. The red line is resistance. See how crazy and wild those bands are? Dynamic. So the stock will move in between those bands. And when there's a surge of volume, it breaks out to the upside. It's called a breakout, and it looks like that, where the pencil is. So think about support and resistance kind of like this. If a stock is trading down or trending down or looks like it might be heading lower, think of support as the thing that literally holds the stock from going lower. It is supporting that bottom price. Now, if enough negative news or volume comes into the downside, that stock will break support, and that's bad. It's going to break out to the downside, and it's going to indicate to day traders and swing traders to exit the position, get out. If you're the kind of trader who likes to catch falling knives and buy stocks as they're dropping, hoping for a quick rebound or something called a bounce play, you're going to be looking for stocks like that. Resistance is the same, but in reverse. So a stock that's trending up, but isn't able to break that barrier. When it crosses over that resistance line, it's called a breakout to the upside. It's a signal that when combined with volume, lets you know that a rally might be happening. Okay, so now that we've got support and resistance covered on day and swing trading, let's now look at investing. I've gotten a lot of questions from people saying, do more videos on investing and how to find investments and how to use charts and indicators to find said investments. So here's how you use support and resistance using Ameritrade to look for opportunities to buy or sell. I'm going to use Apple. So this is a 1-year chart of Apple. And you can see the black lines that I have drawn on this screen are right here where it says exit trend lines. You're going to see an option to draw trend lines. This allows us to look at a much larger picture. And even though if you look closely, you can see intraday volatility, right? It's moving up and oh no, fucking screensaver. We're still able to plot a pretty straight line. So essentially support and resistance lines allow us to see where the stock gets every time it drops a little bit, but it doesn't go lower. So we can say, it's being supported at this price. Resistance is obviously similar, but in reverse. So it's moving higher, but it's not breaking out above its resistance. So it's trading right at this line. As investors, we're looking for indicators to either sell or buy a stock. So you can see here, this stock is just plodding along pretty happily until it gets right here and it breaks out to the downside. It's broken support. That's an indicator that it might be heading lower. And look, it does. So it goes from around 300 to 212, and then it kind of consolidates for a little before it starts moving higher. But it never breaks over resistance until here. And then we've got a breakout. And you can use them for any time frame, 1 month, 3 months, a year. So let's do one more example of support and resistance on a different chart. This is Facebook. Here we are on Facebook on a 1-year chart. And you can see this trend line that I've drawn here. And every time the stock gets close to it, but doesn't go below, it's telling us this is support. The problem comes when it crosses below. And sure enough, big drop in the stock price. If you're an investor, even for the short term, and you're looking for an opportunity to sell and lock in your profits before the stock drops, well, you'd be selling it probably around here. But what if you want to buy it back? Well, as long as this stock is breaking out to the downside, which it does here, 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 you don't want to buy because the indicator is it might be going lower. The time for you to buy back in is when it crosses this 20-day moving average. That's the one in the middle. Right in this area right here is when you think about buying back in. Now there's one more option for using support and resistance, and that's using support or resistance as opportunities to buy or sell. Let me show you. Again, I'm going to use a 1-year chart of Facebook. Every time this stock hits the support line right here, right here, and right here. You notice that it doesn't go lower, but in fact, it goes higher. It starts to move higher. Every time it tests support, it moves higher. A lot of traders and investors like to use support as an indicator of when to buy a stock because they're saying it's being supported at this level and it's not going lower. And it goes higher. Now I've added a resistance line on top. A lot of people might use the resistance line as a point in which to sell because they say, it's never going higher. I'm going to sell, lock in my profits, and then wait for it to dip before buying back in and then selling as it hits resistance. So buy here, sell here. Lots of options, lots of time frames for support and resistance.